Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry for a little bit of a delay there. We're just waiting for Roland to come on the screen, but let me begin. And as soon as he gets on the call, as soon as he gets on the call, we'll bring him into today's session. So today's 365 in 365, or you don't know what you don't know session, is going to be based around Skype for Business. So we're going to be talking about Skype for Business and running more effective meetings using Skype for Business, tips and tricks on how to use Skype for Business better, and how to start and create ad hoc Skype for Business meetings. And I believe, Roland, you've just joined me on the call now, so you're muted at the moment, so I don't know if he's can hear me, but if you can, just here he is.
Good morning, Trevor. Yes, I could hear you. I was just letting you get through your bit. Good morning, Trevor. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's session. Thanks so much for joining us on this call. I hope you have all recovered after the Australia Day celebrations.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? This Australia Day celebrations are all held on Australia Day. They should probably have another public holiday the day after for everybody to recover, because it's sort of a bit around the wrong way, isn't it?
It's not the worst idea I've ever heard. So, yes,
Maybe
today
maybe a half day in the afternoon and a half day in the morning the following day or something. That would be really Australian, wouldn't it?
I think that would be very Australian, and I'm all for that, definitely. So yes, Trevor, today we're going to be looking at Skype for Business, and you know, a lot of the people we talk about being in email jail and people who are not using other communication modalities to be able to collaborate with people. So when we talk about modalities of communication, we're just talking about which mode of communication is best for that type of interaction. You think of the concept of activity-based working, which is a term that you would have heard around the place over the last few years. Which area in your business is best for the activity you're doing at that point in time? I'm making a telephone call, ergo I need a quiet area. It's an activity-based working environment. So Skype for Business is used as a modality of communication when I would like to engage an individual, and maybe, and I'm just putting it out there, maybe email is not the way to go just for that particular communication. So when we're talking about communicating with people, we're talking about people within your organization who are using Skype for Business, as well as people outside of your organization. So when we add a contact, you guys have all joined the Skype for Business call here. So when we add a contact, we can add a contact outside of our organization. And in that case, the contact would be what's known as a federated contact. So federation meaning a trust relationship here. So if you guys are in Office 365, Microsoft have it set up so that with a simple click, we can trust other people who are also in Office 365, people that you might want to do business with. Okay, so if we just go on to the next slide.
Sorry.
Um,
Yep. I'm getting there. Bear with me. I'm just being
All right, no problem. So what we can do here is in our Skype for Business, we can just go and add a contact inside or outside of my organization. If I'm choosing to add a contact within my organization, it will query my global address list. It will query my global address list and bring up everybody who is in my organization. That is somebody who has the SMTP address or the email address, for example, at hub1.com. Now, if you don't work for hub1.com, and you're in another organization, let's say you're at Microsoft.com, if I wanted to add Dean Corcoran at Microsoft, I would simply go add someone not in my organization, and I would put in the email address there, deanco@microsoft.com. So for everybody on the call today, you could actually add in a contact at Hub1. So if you click on the little person in the top right-hand corner with the plus symbol next to them in your Skype window, you can say add contact not in my organization, and then you would go through and put in Roland at hub1.com. And remember, with Hub1, there's no AU, it's just hub1.com. Or
so Roland, with
yes,
the differences that are there, one, and again, you don't know what you don't know. I'm learning as we go along on these sort of things as well. One of the things that I find is I will add a contact, and probably I'm not going through the right way to do it. I just add a contact in, and it comes back and says it doesn't know the presence or the where that person's at, so it won't give me an answer to connecting with them. Is that what's going on there? Is that is that the process of their being asked if they'll accept me to talk to? In other words, that we'll federate with that federation process.
It's like being asked out on a date, isn't it? You'd be saying,
like
how
on
about
Facebook asking someone to be your friend on Facebook, and they won't talk. You can't see anything until they do.
Trevor, that's a very good analogy, but unfortunately it doesn't work like that. It's based on a higher level, okay? So what happens is on an organizational level. So, for example, Microsoft and HubOne have a trust relationship. So there's a block list and an allow list. And what happens is, for the organization, you can either say, we will block everybody but allow the following people, or we will allow everybody and block the following people. So this is something that needs to be done at an organizational level. And if you're one of the HubOne customers, we can quite easily enable federation for you at an organizational level. And if you cannot contact somebody, my recommendation would be then to send them a traditional email saying, hi, I tried to connect up with you on Skype. I was unable to see your presence. Could you possibly allow us to communicate by adding my organization onto your federated allow list? So you're basically saying to them, I want to talk to you through Skype. Can you put me on the allow list?
So by adding a contact not in my organization doesn't
it may not work.
It still may not work.
It may not work. It's got to be the IT department has to say, we trust that organization. There are business justifications or business drivers for us opening up this channel of communication, which is essentially a chat. Although it's a secure chat, everything that goes through Skype for Business is encrypted. Although it's a secure chat, we're opening up an additional channel of communication. So we've got a thing called Open Federation. So what I'm hoping now is that people on this call, Trevor, you're just Trev at HubOne?
Trevor at HubOne.
Trevor at HubOne. So here's your challenge, okay? Everybody, Jacinta, Greg, Crystal, Mary, Matthew, Maureen, everybody on this, let's all add Trevor at HubOne, shall we? Don't all add Roland, all add Trevor, okay?
That's fine.
All right, so let's move on to federation. So that's adding people inside and people outside of your organization. If you want to find somebody in your contact list, you can say, add a contact not in my organization. So guys, remember a while ago we spoke about the whole Office 365 suite of business products used to be on one server, which was the Exchange 2000 server, right? And apologies if some of you were not on the call. I will use this analogy later and we'll drill into it in another session. But all of these three tools, which is Exchange, your email, Skype, your unified communications and collaboration tool, and SharePoint, your co-authoring and content storage tool, all used to be on one server. Therefore, they all share this thing called the global address list, okay? So you've got your global addresses and you've got your address list of your individuals. So you can add a contact not in my organization, and this could be a traditional contact that's in Outlook, for example. As a rule of thumb, Skype for Business and email addresses use the same address. That is not always the case and does not have to be the case. But in a lot of organizations, for simplicity of communication, they allow it. Now, it's not all organizations. For example, my wife works for Dimension Data. Her Skype address is michelle@didata.com.au. Her email address is Michelle Leggett at dimensiondata.com. So their global email system is handled by DimensionData.com. However, their Skype for Business ecosystem is handled on a local countrywide level.
Cool.
So it doesn't have to be, but you can always, if someone's got Skype for Business, give it a bash and you could communicate with them. The other thing is, guys, it doesn't have to be Skype for Business clients. You can see other there. So it could be MSN clients, it could be Google Hangouts clients, it could be Cisco clients, it could be Lotus same time clients. Essentially, anybody who's using what's called a SIP or Session Initiation Protocol client should be able to communicate with you. Now that's getting a bit technical, so let's jump on.
Way technical there on me.
All right, I'm gone. Okay, let's jump on to the next one.
So
let's go.
Before we jump on to the next slide, and we're talking about Skype for Business and Skype, help me and help probably some of our listeners understand the difference between Skype for Business and Skype. So, we know that Microsoft purchased Skype, so therefore we changed from Link to Skype for Business. But, I've been wanting to merge my contacts, and rather than use Skype for Business and Skype different access points, I've just wanted to use Skype for Business for everything. Is that possible?
Yes, it is possible. What we'll have to do is add your Skype for Business your Skype contacts into Skype for Business. I would strongly recommend using your Skype for Business over Skype because, as the name implies, one has business grade security and the other one doesn't.
Right.
So, if you use, people say, "Oh, I'm just going to use MSN or some type of chat session, and it will be secure." No, it won't.
So I could add your Skype address. Let's say it's Roland.Leggett is your Skype address. If I added that into Skype for Business, that I could see that in Skype for Business and talk to you that way. Cool.
Yes.
That makes a little bit more sense.
And what will happen is all your communication will be encrypted until it goes onto the just plain old Skype network or the Yahoo network or the Messenger network. The rule of thumb, if you're not paying for it, you don't get the business grade.
Yeah. So you're saying that under Skype, somebody, be it Big Brother, could be listening to your calls on normal Skype, but Skype for Business, they it's all secure and encrypted.
In transit, it is encrypted. It's the same. Think of it as a difference. When you go to a normal website, you'd use in the browser like HTTP, and then if you go banking, it would be HTTPS. That's the same difference. HTTP is Skype. Everything's in clear text. HTTPS, Skype for Business. So it's the same as when you log on to just, your bank, and then when you log in, it changes to HTTPS. That's a fundamental difference.
So if you're not worried about what you're saying, feel free to go and use Skype for your family and all that. But if you're doing a very important business call, make sure you're using Skype for Business. Is probably the thing that we need to be talking about. Roland, you're asking for control of my screen. You want to control my screen, do you?
No, I just want to jump onto the next one, Trevor.
Okay, I'll flick over to that.
All right, so you can check for your presence updates, and this is to see people's logical availability, no matter what their physical presence in the organization is. Really, it's color-coded, guys. It's not rocket science here. Green, stop, don't talk to them, they're busy doing, red, stop, don't talk to them, they're busy doing something. Green, they're available for communication at this time. So we can change our availability to busy, in a call, offline, in a meeting. And this is dynamic, guys, in that if you're in a meeting in Outlook, it'll automatically change your availability to being in a meeting. If you're on a call, it'll change your availability to being in a call. So you're not available at that point in time.
Roland, I might bring my screen on for this, my Skype for Business screen. So I'll bring it up onto the screen so everybody can see this, because I think this is absolutely fantastic. So what it's done in my situation, because I'm on a conference call with you, it actually picks up that and changes my presence to be not only in a meeting, but actually says I'm in a conference call. And if I'm presenting on, so it probably doesn't know which one to do now because I'm actually presenting as well. But if I wasn't on a conference call and presenting using PowerPoint, it actually says, well, Trevor's presenting. So it's got that power to even go beyond just available, busy, and offline, hasn't it?
Unbelievable. That is really the key to why you would use Skype for Business over something like normal Skype or any other type of third party. There's a bunch of people out there using a thing called Zoom at the moment, and a lot of universities and that. And I keep asking, what are the business justifications for this? And they say it's easy to use, but in my mind, the downside is it lacks the integration with your calendar.
Yeah.
Like we spoke a while ago about Outlook in calendars, and I was like, if it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen.
No,
And
it's really getting to that point. If there's
it
no
is getting.
calendar invite, forget about it. You know, we don't, it
Oh,
doesn't exist.
we got a meeting. Oh, that's peculiar. I don't seem to have a calendar invite. Oh, no, I just spoke to you about it. Ooh. Okay. So we get like that. And you can change this presence. The other thing about your presence status is where are you working? What's happening today? I'm working from home. It just gives a quick update as to what you're doing today.
Oh, we just lost you for a second there, Roland.
All right. What do you do today at work?
Better. You're working now. Good. Are we just you want to cover off the other bits of those screens? Are you gonna cover off those things like the missed calls and the appointments, because I use them a lot in those sessions. Are you gonna?
Yep, I'm just a little bit concerned for time.
Okay. Yes, but we got 15 minutes to go.
All right. So a couple of other things you've got here is we've got your appointments and your calendar items. So your calendar items are automatically populated from Outlook.
Bring my screen across so you can see this. Yeah.
Yep. So there you can see what we've got coming up today. We've got 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1:30. So these are meetings that are, you've scheduled meetings during the day, and those meetings have come through from Outlook and are populating your calendar.
And the ones highlighted in blue are Skype for Business meetings. So I can go there and click onto that Skype for Business meeting, and it'll open the Skype meeting up for me.
Yep.
I actually know that one's down the bottom is saying where I've got to be, so that's interesting.
It's probably got both in there. It's probably it's got an address and a Skype for Business URL in there. That's what's happened with that one.
A bit of a bad habit that I do. The missed calls is there's loads of things that you can go and have a look and see what's going on with that too as well. So awesome. So I'll let you go back to sending an instant message.
Okay, but this is we're sending an instant message for communicating. So I'll give you a real world example. This morning Trevor was trying to get hold of me, and I was actually on a mobile call which hadn't come through to my Skype for Business window, and Trevor tried to call me. So as he tried to call me, I couldn't take the call. I replied with an instant messaging. With an instant message, I will contact you in a short while. So I did that, and when I replied with the right modality of communication, because I couldn't talk to him then. I could have put down the one call and said, hold on for me a moment while I take this other call, which is quite frustrating for people. So I just replied with the right modality of communication. And really up at the top here, what we've got is we've got all the different types of ways to communicate. So have an instant message, do a telephone conversation, do a video conference, look up somebody's contact card, or send them an email.
Mm-hmm. When would you use video? Like I find I struggle to use video sometimes, but realistically you should. Does it impact on the quality of the call at all? That these sort of things worry me about video.
That's a very good point, Trevor. So it does definitely, the real time, like if you think about your communication as just like a pipe that you would normally, like a water pipe or something, okay? Depending on what you're sending down there is how full your pipe is going to be, or how much bandwidth it's going to take up, okay? So depending on your type of camera, depending on your type of communication, voice would normally start at around about 45 to 50 kilobits per second. Now, I know these might not be important numbers to you, but just if you bear in mind, video normally comes in at about 400 kilobits per second. So approximately 8 times the amount of bandwidth that voice is going to take up.
And it just depends on what your internet connection is, what's going on in your office and all that, whether it's going to work at sometimes and not work properly other times, isn't it?
It's exactly right. But what we see a lot with the new video conferencing tools is they tend to change the amount of bandwidth they're using based on how much bandwidth you've got. Okay, yeah. So for example, if you start out and your voice is 45 kilobits per second, so let's say I click that button and I initiate a voice call, and then my voice starts to get really bad because somebody else is using it. What it'll actually do is do less and less voice. So it can scale it down from 45 kilobits per second right down to 15, so to a third of the size that it initially took.
Yeah.
And that's based on, I got a bad connection, so I'm scaling down, scaling down, scaling down, scaling down. If you look at this meeting in the top right-hand corner where it's got the time and that it's been recorded, it also tells me what is the quality of my network. Your network quality is good. Therefore, it'll be using the full amount of voice. If those bars were red, it would be throttling the amount of voice and video traffic to try and get it through, but with a limited amount of bandwidth available.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's just jump on to the next bit. We've got a lot of slides to get through, and I think actually, Roland, we might have to continue this session because I think it's really valuable. We might have to continue this session next week. We might have to have like a to be continued session on this because we really want to start to get the most out of it. We've got 10 minutes to go on today's session, but I think to get the most out of it, we'll do this over 2. I think that's the best way to handle that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about an ad hoc conference call.
All right, so ad hoc conference call is when we're having some other type of communication. So we could be having an email, I could be looking at a document in SharePoint, and I think to myself, I would actually like to chat. I'd like to chat with the individual who has created that document. Okay, so at that point, I would just click on the conference call functionality, and I would just select to have a conference call, establish a conference call at that point with them.
So where are you doing that when you're talking about that? Whereabouts? You're saying you've got a Word document, you've created a Word document, and in the Word document you can choose the conference call.
Yep. So for example, if I was on a SharePoint site,
right?
For example, okay. So if you
want me to open something up,
or you can give me control and or jump onto the next slide would actually probably be
okay. Cool. You there? Is that what you wanted to see, or you want to take?
The previous one. Sorry.
Okay, my fault. What am I going? Am I going all over the place now? So we've got the start ad hoc conference call.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. So there we. So just hovering over any individual. All right.
Within there, and you can see those
in 365 in a Word document, anything under the sun. Okay. So if you just hover over an individual, you will be able to bring up options to communicate with them.
Right. That wasn't it. So if that person has created that Word document, their photo will be on the Word document, and you can hover over that and then create that meeting and start that meeting, or send an email message and so forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then you can choose your modality. What you're doing is you're choosing your modality of communication. Okay. So you're saying this is the best way to communicate with this individual right now. And that could be a conference call, it could be a chat session, it could be any of those things.
Yeah, cool. Excellent. I need to use that a bit more. So rather than, it's just about reducing the number of clicks, rather than having the document there going, who am I talking about here? Then opening up Skype for Business and going up Skype for Business. You should just be able to go straight from the document, from the email, or wherever you've received that first message from.
It gives you context to it. It gives you context.
Yeah, cool. All right, we'll jump to the next slide then. So coming from an IM to a meeting.
All right. So if you want to convert an instant message into a meeting, what you're doing here is just escalating to the right modality of communication. So if we're having a chat session, we could think, right, I'm not getting the message across with the chat session. So there we could go and escalate it to a meeting, and you could engage voice and you can engage video, you could do polling, all of the things that we've done before in your Skype for Business meetings. Right.
So again, it's that whole process of being just hovering. I'm just doing it now, having a look at a few things. So when it comes up, so I'll bring my screen across so people can see this. These are instant messages. I can then I click on Matthew, and then when I hover over his name, depending on who they are, because Matthew's in my business. I've got a lot more, whereas this is a conference between, whereas I go to David, I can see all the different things and I can communicate with David on multiple levels. And I can go back to Nick again and I can see all, so loads of way we can communicate. Yeah. So we're like, can you talk? Yes, call me. So that's funny. Yeah, pretty cool. That's how you can convert it over. Really, reading one of these where we can share a desktop. So at the moment we're sharing a desktop, upload a PowerPoint presentation. And then we're going to whiteboard in a minute, but uploading a PowerPoint presentation, why would you do that rather than showing your screen?
All right, so the reason why you would choose to, and if you click on your present screen, just give us the options there. The reason why you would choose to upload the PowerPoint presentation is because when we're on a conference, guys, we are all connecting to the same point in the cloud, and then that conferencing server is feeding information such as video, PowerPoint, audio, all back to you. So here's the thing, Trevor, when you're presenting on your desktop, it goes up to the cloud and then it comes back down to everybody. Mm-hmm. If prior to doing the presentation you decide you would like to be a bit proactive in your preparation, you can upload your presentation to the cloud and then present it from there. Essentially what you're saving is one hop, and the hop being from your machine to the cloud, where it's then distributed it out to everybody on the conference call.
Yeah, see, you don't know what you don't know.
So that's the difference.
And I used to get frustrated with it because I would try and present and do it while I was on the call. So I'd be talking to someone and I'd say, let's just jump into the presentation. I try to present it there. What you're saying is I've got to do that beforehand.
Yes.
If I've done it beforehand, is it uploaded and stored there so that I can jump in and out?
When you click on that button, you can go through and you'll be able to see their manage content. So if I click on the present button now, for example, all right, you've got manage presentable content, okay? Whatever you've uploaded prior to the session will be sitting in manage presentable content. So for example, for this meeting, you've got one thing, which is this PowerPoint uploaded in there. You could have 10, 15, whatever, I don't know how many, I've never actually reached the limits of it, but you could have a bunch of resources in there that you could present from the cloud essentially. So that's the difference, really. And then you can also, with My Notes, you've got stuff that'll go out to OneNote. So if we're having a meeting and we're storing the minutes for the meeting within OneNote, we can save it along with this meeting.
So with this, right, because my bad, I didn't realize this, and we
this is what it's for.
Exactly what it is. Had I been, and I'm not presenting, I'm presenting from my desktop, so that's making it difficult. Whereas had I been presenting from the presentation,
yes,
are you able to control?
I can then control that presentation. So I would go in and where it says manage presentable content, I could go in
and promise you next time I will.
That's fine. Most people don't understand the difference, and the difference is you're really saving yourself one hop in the presenting the contents, which is from your desktop to the cloud. Once we get to the cloud, it then gets distributed out to everybody.
Very cool. Very cool. Right now,
so that's what people say.
Things as we're going along. I'm waiting on the call.
Well, that's the thing. Some people say, "Why do I have to pay for conferencing when I can?" Some people say, "I do Skype conferencing for free," and I'll say, "That's really interesting. How many people are on the conference?" And they say 2. I said, well, that's not really a conference, is it? It's more of a call than a conference.
Yeah, so, I think we've got 25 people on the call today. Last week we had nearly 100 people on the call. And we're not paying anything extra for it.
No, exactly. But the reason being with this, with all these people on the call, we're engaging a conferencing server in the cloud. Trev, if it's just you and me, then it's a peer-to-peer type communication.
So we're going to finish off today because we are over our half an hour. It shows how important this part of it is. But before we go, I want to talk about this to use a whiteboard or a poll. So whiteboard is easy because that's just sharing a OneNote, or is there an actual whiteboard that we can...
No, an actual whiteboard.
Well, why don't we do that? Just show me this one because, again, so I can go into a whiteboard. Where is that?
Yep. We should have presentable content here.
So I can add a whiteboard into my
Yep.
presentable content.
So you should have more options there. Can you see that? So when you click on your presentable options, there's a more options with 3 epilepts.
I'm going to bring my screen across so you can see it. It doesn't matter. Just showing everybody. I'm presenting my presenting
All
screen.
right. So you click on your little screen on the bottom there.
Yeah.
Okay, you've got more. Click on more.
Right.
There we go. And what do you want? Whiteboard, poll, Q&A.
And so if I wanted to do a whiteboard, but the problem, and I can't, we haven't got a time now, but if I had this then running on my Surface, or I can probably grab a pen here and you're drawing, you're working with me, and
no, I'm already drawing. I'm 3 steps ahead of you. There we go. Look at that. And there, and you can see IT is clearly my forte as opposed to art.
I'm the same.
You're very Picasso-like in your postmodern.
I can clean it out. I can get more white out. Color your eyes in.
You can put a picture in there.
That is cool.
So, yep, and then you've got the other so there we're all editing at the same time. Everybody who's a presenter.
Nick, thank you. You're
Nick's
on the call as well.
Punching in. He's putting stuff in there because he's listed as a presenter. So, Alan, if you or Catherine, if one of you guys try and draw on that whiteboard, you won't be able to at the moment because you're not a presenter.
Right, but Nick and Ben could.
That is a pumpkin head, I'm afraid. Yes, but everybody else who's listed as a presenter.
While we're here, the other these more content things, so we can put a poll together.
Yes.
So we can put a poll in. Is this cool?
What do you think of drawing?
Yeah.
We can do Q&A to validate knowledge transfer. All right, we're running over time. We're getting people starting to drop off the call.
We are.
Guys, we're going to do a bunch more of these. If we just jump back to our deck.
Well, I'll get over to there. If I had the deck running properly, you could control that. So I'll do that next week. You'll see all this happening properly.
Next week, log on next week to watch Trevor smash Skype for Business.
I love this session. It is so good.
All right. So
I'm
guys,
sure if I'm learning something, everybody else is learning things as we go into it.
Your challenge this week, everybody on the call, is to try and add somebody from Hub One or someone from your partner organization into your Skype for Business. Remember, Skype for Business is what you should log on to very first in the morning. Once you've logged on to that, if you fire up things like Outlook and Yammer, they will all be acutely aware that Skype for Business is fired up and allow you to have all the extra modalities of communication that you require. So, Trev, I'm going to wrap up now. I just want to say thank you to everybody on the call. Next week, we have Office web apps coming up.
We're going to continue the Skype.
You're going to change it? Okay, all right.
I want to continue the Skype.
All right. Look at him.
We've not even got halfway through this.
All right.
And I've been learning so many things, so I want to show everybody what I've learned. But we have got so many things. We've only got a halfway through this, and it's such.
All right, and you want to know the thing is, I actually took out about 10 other slides that I had about other tips and tricks in Skype for Business because I thought we had way too much already. So, guys, we're going to keep this ball rolling. Join us next week for another fun session of You Don't Know What You Don't Know, and we're going to dig down more into Skype for Business. Get your friend, your family, everybody you know on the call. Same time, same place next week, hopefully different clothes. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll chat to you all next week.
Not same time, back to Tuesday next week.
Back to Tuesday. So right, Trevor. Thank you so much. All right, cheers. Bye.